It is 1 p.m. in Homs. It is 7 p.m. in Pyongyang. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One, live from London. An uneasy truce seems to have silenced the guns across Syria, but now the world is holding its breath and waiting to see if it lasts. 7 hours after the UN ceasefire took hold, there have been no reports of major violence. Activists say after months of heavy shelling and slaughter, the break of dawn brought calm to most parts of the country. Activists say 98 people were killed in the day before the truce. CNN's Ivan Watson is following developments from Rihanna in Turkey, close to the Syrian border. He joins us now live. Ivan, tell us exactly what's the situation you're hearing from within Syria?
Well, what we're hearing is that after months of killing, that Syrians are waking up to possibly the quietest...
Ivan, thank you. Ivan Watson there in Rihanna in Turkey. So what does the future look like for Syria, and how could there be a way out of the conflict? Let's bring in CNN senior international correspondent Nick Robertson here in the studio with me. So as Ivan was saying, the big test for this ceasefire will be if the opposition decide to take up protests in various parts of the country, whether it's the capital or in other parts, how the government will respond.
At the moment, the opposition in many of the areas that they're in are in isolated communities, even within cities.
Thank you very much, Nick Robertson. North Korea's controversial rocket remains on its launch pad as the first opportunity for liftoff passes. The North Korean government is brushing off calls not to launch the rocket. It says the mission is to put a weather satellite into orbit and has no military purpose. But the launch will mark the 100th anniversary of the birth of Kim Il-sung, founder of the communist state, and North Korea opened up its tightly controlled borders to foreign journalists this week. CNN senior international correspondent Stan Grant joins us now on the phone from the capital, Pyongyang. So any indication, Stan, on when this launch might actually happen?
Monita, they'd always said it was going to happen between the 12th and the 16th.
What newspapers around the world are saying about this, the Chicago Tribune has this headline: North Korea yearns for the spotlight and isolation. The comment piece says a byproduct of North Korea's provocative behavior is further isolation from the world. Isolation is not really punishment for those in charge, nor is withholding food aid. Instead, it only buys the North Korean government time to strategize while prolonging the suffering of its vulnerable citizens. The Chinese newspaper Global Times has this headline: North Korea's satellite launch, tough tests for Chinese diplomacy. It's an opinion piece that says as North Korea has just experienced a leadership shift, China, with the stability first mentality, has provided a great deal of food, oil, and financial aid to North Korea. It is a difficult problem how China can convince the international community that its aid to North Korea has nothing to do with this country's current words and behaviors. Finally, there's a headline in the International Herald Tribune that reads, trampling on U.S. accord. The article says, in moving ahead, North Korea was in many respects behaving as usual, willfully, without regard for United Nations resolutions, and paying no heed to its biggest patron, China. The turn of events repeats a long, frustrating cycle with North Korea, which has proved almost impervious to inducements or punishments. World One, live from London, a shooting that sparked outrage and arguments across the U.S. Weeks after the shooting of an unarmed teenager in Florida, the gunman has been taken into police custody and charged with murder. Under the cover of darkness, police in Florida whisked George Zimmerman into a county jail. The killing of Trayvon Martin has weighed heavily on the community of Sanford, Florida, and that's where the shooting happened and where emotions remain raw. Martin Savage joins us now live from Sanford with more. And Martin, what happens now?
Hello, Monita. Well, what happens now is that there's going to be a first court appearance for George Zimmerman. That'll take place later today.
Martin, thank you for that. Martin Savage there in Sanford, Florida. You're watching World One live from London. She has been nicknamed Argentina's miracle baby. Pronounced dead after she was born 3 months premature, baby Luz Milagros survived 10 hours in a morgue refrigerator, only to be discovered alive by her parents after they prized open her coffin. Rafael Romo has this remarkable story.
She weighs only 800 grams, about 1.75 pounds. She was born premature.
Just 10 days out from the French election, the front runners are doing all they can to woo voters. Last night, 5 of them faced a grilling by a panel of journalists in a televised Q&A session, including the socialist favorite François Hollande. And with the vote closing in, the exposure could make or break the candidates' campaigns. CNN senior international correspondent Jim Bitterman watched the broadcast. He joins us live from Paris. What was interesting that came out of this Q&A session?
Monita, I think, one of the things is this was billed as the political event of the week.
Jim, thank you. Jim Bitterman there in Paris. As we mentioned a short time ago, opposition sources in the Syrian city of Homs say government forces are shelling the neighborhood of Karabis, breaking the UN-backed ceasefire only hours after it went into effect. We want to bring you the view from the ground. Manhal is with us. He's an activist with the opposition Sham News Network, and he's live he joins us now on the phone from the city of Hama. What more are you seeing? Any evidence of any shelling or any violence at this point where you are?
Yes, tomorrow morning we were spread on the and registered the variation.
Manhal, we appreciate you speaking to us there from Hama. As we're hearing there, according to this activist there speaking to us on the phone, that there have been violations of the ceasefire. According again to this activist, that there are tanks on the streets, snipers on the roofs, and government forces reportedly breaking into homes there in various parts. So again, this has not been verified independently by CNN. This is according to this activist that we've just been speaking to on the phone from Hama. Well, for the first time in 15 months, Iran will return to the negotiating table on Saturday to talk about its nuclear program. This weekend, Christiane Amanpour will take a close look at the issues surrounding the Islamic Republic and its nuclear ambitions. Here's a preview. Well, Wednesday was D-Day for many of Europe's top football clubs. There were crucial clashes in Germany, England, Spain, and Italy. Pedro Pinto is here with all the details on that.
I am. I know you were glued to your monitor watching everything, so you don't even have to pay attention. You already know it all. Let's start with the top of the table clash in the Bundesliga. Borussia Dortmund took a huge step towards...
The Bahrain government says that the protests are limited and that their country is safe. F1 organizers say that the race will go on, at least for now. Eunice Yoon, CNN, Shanghai.
And Formula One officials and teams are expected to find out, hopefully on Friday, Monita, whether there will be a Grand Prix. There's a meeting scheduled. Bernie Eccleston has landed in China, so he's the one who makes the call.
Absolutely. And Shanghai Grand Prix, though, that should be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of my favorite cities in the world.
Yeah, you were just telling me that while we were listening to that report.
You were listening.
I was.
Excellent. Good to know.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
It's not awkward silence at all.
Not anymore. You're watching World One, live from London. Coming up, it confirmed it is cutting 10,000 jobs as part of the company's major restructuring strategy. The electronics giant hasn't made a profit in 4 years, and its new CEO, Kazuo Hirai, has promised a shakeup. Sony has been fighting the same battle as the Japanese economy in the past year. A settlement over price fixing on electronic books could mean cheaper prices for book lovers. The U.S. Justice Department accused Apple and several publishers of conspiring to fix the prices of ebooks right around the time the iPad was launched. The accusations suggest an attempt to cut into Amazon.com's dominance in that market. The Justice Department says consumers overpaid by tens of millions of dollars.
In response to our allegations, 3 of these publishers...
European authorities are also probing Apple and the publishers for similar antitrust violations. Let's take a look at what's trending on social media right now. At number 3, T-Mobile has a new way to help if you've lost your smartphone. Scream Tones, the app which comes on Android phones, makes your phone scream really loudly, or you could just pick an alternative sound like a wolf howl or a train whistle. It'll also embarrass any thief who won't be able to make the noise stop. At number 2, Boyd, William Boyd. This man's name is lighting up the web right now. The British author confirmed he is writing the next James Bond novel. No word on the title, but he says it'll be a return to classic Bond with a 1960s setting. And at number 1, George Zimmerman, the most talked about person online right now. On Wednesday, he was charged with second-degree murder, and now Google searches on his name have have jumped more than 4,000%. Social media has already played a part in this case. The hashtag Trayvon has been one of the top terms on Twitter since Trayvon Martin's death in February. Now, earlier today, 2 strong earthquakes shook Mexico's Pacific coast. Meteorologist Mari Ramos is at the World Weather Center with more on that. Mari.
Monita, yes, again, another big earthquake scare happening along the Pacific Rim here, along the...
Mari, thank you. You're watching World One live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for joining us. We'll update you of the news headlines at the top of the hour right here on CNN.